All right, guys, I am back for another episode of Renovation Nation. Imagine a year from now, it's the end of 2024, and you look back on your trails of investments and your flourishing real estate portfolio, and you now got a deeper understanding of the real estate market here in St. Louis. How did you get there? That's what today's show is all about. So hello and welcome to the Renovation Nation show, brought to you by Red Maples, your go-to source for institutional style property management of small multifamily rentals. I am your host, Nathan Bush, and each show we share real-life lessons from our real estate experience. We invite industry experts, innovators, and influencers to explore the challenges and opportunities facing small multifamily real estate investments. We designed this show to answer some questions you have about researching the market, setting up effective management systems, and maximizing your returns. If you want more of these types of resources regularly, you can subscribe to my YouTube channel or head over to www.nathanbushmba.com. That's www.nathanbushmba.com, and you can get subscribed to my email list. I also like you to check out some of the links in the descriptions and the bios. All of those things will help you out on your real estate investing journey. So thanks for spending some time with me today. Today, we are talking about setting investment goals, a New Year's growth plan for real estate investors. Do you have a growth plan? Do you have a plan in place to grow your real estate rental portfolio? That's what today's show is going to be all about. And I know a lot of you in my audience, you have been doing a lot of personal development work this past year. You have been working hard in order to help yourselves hit different goals and achieve different things. And so I commend you for that. Today's show is about planning out next year, laying out what next year is going to look like from a growth perspective. A lot of people have coined the terminology for my role within Red Maples and other organizations that I have worked with, a strategic growth facilitator. And that's what we're hoping to do today, is to share with you a little bit of the insight of the framework and the plan that I use for this style of strategic growth facilitation. So with that said, I'm going to share with you some information on strategic growth. But before we do that, I do have to thank my sponsor, Red Maples. Remember, they're your go-to source for institutional style property management. And if you'd like a real estate rental portfolio assessment, meaning looking at your investment ratios, looking at your rents on your current property, looking at an overall budget for your small multifamily or rental portfolio, head on over to www.red-maples.com/assessment. That's www.red-maples.com/assessment. And let us take all of the operational work off of your shoulders. Right, cool. So there's a real famous TV show that my wife and I loved to watch back in the day. It was called The Queen's Gambit. The Queen's Gambit. And there is a significant scene that illustrates Beth, the main character's growth, when a reporter from Life is interviewing her after a big win. Now, this interviewer is a bit snotty and disrespectful to her, but she's interviewing her about a woman's role in a man's dominated environment. And she's interviewing her about her background, trying to tie her background into this situation that kind of makes her feel inferior or unimportant. And there is this famous quote that she says during this scene. I don't know if you guys remember this or not, from A Queen's Gambit, but Beth says, chess isn't always competitive. Chess isn't always competitive. Chess can also be beautiful. And what I love about this quote, specifically related to growth, is this line encapsulates her journey. That chess isn't always competitive. It can also be beautiful. Beth uses chess as an escape in a way to gain control over her time, but then she learns to appreciate it as an art and a part of her identity. It's not just a tool for her dominion. It is a way of expressing her own individualism and her own creativity. Her growth is about finding balance in her life, and understanding that her mind is the beautiful place that she spends her time. Her mind is the linchpin, the differentiator of what makes her who she is. And realizing the beauty of the game, she's able to find herself beyond just winning. And so if you're a real estate investor and you have been winning, today's show is for you. If you're a real estate investor and you're trying to get started, today's show's for you. All of these things will help you to be able to become a better real estate investor as we work through this growth framework. Happy Friday, Travis Durbin, who's online with us. I appreciate you attending and participating today. If anybody else is online, you're welcome to share some information in the comments. Post something in the comments. That way I know that you're here. And then once you share in the comments, if you have questions, feel free to go ahead and ask those as well, as we're working through this goal setting framework that I think will be very helpful for you as we go through the show. If you have any questions, I'd love to answer any questions that you have. So go ahead and put those in the chat. All right, cool. Now that we've done that, growth. Growth isn't just something to focus on. It's an acronym for the framework that we're going to talk about throughout this entire show today. The growth framework has become something that's kind of important to me. It's become part of my identity. It's become part of who I am. And so I sat down over the past couple of weeks and I identified what are these areas for this strategic growth facilitation that has allowed me to be able to grow different companies and organizations, to be able to scale Red Maple's 10x in the last 12 months. What is it? What are these things that I do? And so for those of you that are looking on the screen, I've identified some of these key core areas that help with growth in your business. The first one is goal setting. Of course, we all know that it's important to set goals, but setting goals is one thing. The utilization of goal setting in the process of that is something completely different and something we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about how I set goals. We're going to talk about why I set goals and the different ways that I follow through on those goals. All right, cool. The next thing is research and education. Research and education. Why is research and education so important to growth? Because if you don't continue to research and educate yourself, there is no possibility for you to identify new patterns, practices, principles, precepts that will guide you into the next step, the next layer. It doesn't allow your brain to wire these new connections. And so you've got to constantly be doing research and education. The next step in the growth framework that we're going to talk about today is opportunity identification. How do you identify opportunities? Whether you're a real estate investor yet, or you're just getting started in real estate investing, maybe in your career, you need to learn how to identify some opportunity. And so we're going to share with you today on this framework how to identify opportunity. Wealth management. You got to not only be able to do these things, but you also got to be able to grow the finances of an organization. Doesn't do you any good to start off and make a bunch of income and you also don't have any money left over to show for it. And so we're going to talk about wealth management on today's show. How about tactical execution? Do you actually know how to execute on this growth plan that you've laid out for yourself in order to get yourself to the end result? And yes, we're going to use real estate today. We're going to talk about real estate, but these can be applied to any area of your life. And then we're going to talk about harvesting success today. And if you are looking for a growth plan in order to do these things, goal setting, research, opportunity identification, wealth management, tactical execution, and harvesting success, you are going to want to buy into the show, participate in the show, and ask some questions on the show, because there is a lot of information that will help you achieve what you're wanting to in 2024 if you have a good growth plan. Now, I have had some confusion around this topic of goal setting. I've had mentors tell me that they don't believe in goal setting, that they actually believe in growth setting. And so what is the difference between setting a successful goal or setting something that's going to just frustrate the ever-livings out of you? Well, that's what we need to talk about. So there's a framework out there right now. That framework for setting goals is SMART goals. And a lot of you are familiar with the concept of SMART goals. But I think one of the challenges that we have isn't just in setting SMART goals. It's in setting goals that are tied into our overall growth. What is going to grow me? What is going to stretch me? What is something key that's a habit that I can set up over and over and over again and measure the success of that habit? What can I do? A lot of people look at a goal and they say, I want to have 1,000 more units under management in 2024. I want to have a new house. I want to have a result that I'm seeking. I want to lose 50 pounds. From all the study and research that I've done and a lot of practices that I've put in place, the hundreds of people that I have interviewed, the thousands of books that I have read over my lifetime, I have boiled this goal setting thing down into a habit that's measurable, a habit that's specific, a habit that you can measure, that's achievable, that you know you can do, that's relevant in time framed. It's a habit that will ultimately get you to what Stephen Covey in his book 4DX talks about is a lag measure, the end, the result that you're looking for. What are the lead measures, the SMART goals that you can set in order to get you to that lag measure? Now, let me give you a perfect example of these lead measures versus lag measures. Let's say that I'm a sales representative and I want to sell $100,000 of my product. The average sales price is, let's say, $1,000, and I want to sell 100,000 of those, $100,000 worth of that $1,000 purchase. Now, that's all simple math to understand the average sales price and how many sales that we would need. But then I need to take that a step further and work backwards. So I now know that out of that $100,000, if I have 1,000 sales at $1,000, that's going to be $100,000, correct? Let me do the math on my calculator. My arithmetic sometimes can be a little bit off. And so let me just run the math for you because I think it's important that we do the numbers, right? That's part of this growth setting press. So $100,000 divided by $1,000 is 1,000 sales that I have to make. Now, the question isn't how many sales do I need to make? That's still not the lead measure on what's going to create the habit in order to get me the result that I'm looking for. I need to know how many appointments that I need to set up. So I'm trying to get to $100,000 in sales. I know that I need to make 1,000 sales. How many appointments does it take in order to get to $100,000 in sales? I don't know that number. How many appointments is it? Is it 1? Is it 10? Is it 15? No, because I got to make 1,000 sales. It's got to be at least 1,000 appointments. So then where does that come from? Well, that comes from our closing ratio. So that tells me that if I, let's say that I'm closing 1 out of every 2 people that I present to. Okay, that tells me I need 2,000 appointments in order to be able to close 1,000 sales to make 100,000 in revenue. But that still doesn't give me the lead measure. It still doesn't give me a lead. I need to know the base central habit. So that tells me that I need to set so many appointments in order to get so many presentations done. So how many appointments do I need to set in order to sell 1,000 units? Well, let's say that 1 out of 2 people show up every single appointment that I set. So that means I need 4,000 appointments set on my schedule in order to make $100,000 at $1,000 average sales price. Is this making sense to anybody? So then what is the habit that allows me to set 4,000 appointments? What is the thing that I can control? Because I can't control setting the appointment. I can't control the end result if they buy and I get to $100,000. What is the habit that allows me to be able to get to the number that I'm trying to achieve on the number of appointments I need to set? That's right, phone calls. I can control how many phone calls I make. I can't control how those calls are going to go. I can control if I get any better at those things, but I can't control the outcome. I can control the lead measure, which is the SMART goal that I want to set for myself. This is why this goal is SMART, is because it takes time to understand how to actually set this thing. You actually have to have some intelligence about yourself in order to work yourself through the math in order to understand how do you set this goal that's actually SMART. So it's specific. I have so many phone calls I need to make. I can measure that. I need to know that it's achievable. I need to make whatever, 20,000 phone calls in order to set 4,000 appointments. Well, I don't know that that's achievable in this month's time frame or this year's time frame in order for me to make that happen. Or is it achievable? I don't know. This is where you got to adjust your time. You need to make sure that you're planning and blocking and doing the things in order to be able to set that goal of making 20,000 phone calls for your year. Is it relevant? Well, yeah, it's relevant because it helps me to be able to determine whether I'm going to be able to achieve that $100,000 in revenue that I set out as a goal for myself, a random goal that I pick as an outcome that I'm trying to achieve. And then time frame. I know it's over this next year, right? So this helps me to be able to set out this SMART goal and know whether it's actually a SMART goal or not. And so that's how you align these SMART goals with your financial plan, is that you actually have to take the time to work through, do the math, and make a determination of if this is even going to be feasible or viable for you. So now that we've talked about some goal setting and we talked about how to set these SMART goals, the second step in the growth model is research and education. There are a lot of different places when it comes to research and education. You might need to do more research if it's a different industry other than real estate, but I've done a bunch of research for you to help you get the information that you need for continuous learning over a period of time. The model for research and education, in order for you to be able to have success in this area in 2024, is you make a commitment to continuous learning. That means that every day, as part of that SMART goal that you set out for yourself, one of the goals that you should have is research and education, and that every day the habit you're going to have is do some research and get some education in the area that you're trying to achieve a specific result. So if it's buying rental properties, that's your overall goal that you're trying to achieve, then you might need to do some research every day. You might need to do some education of yourself in the specific area of real estate every single day in order to put yourself on a path to achieve the specific outcome that you're looking for, because you set a SMART goal around the research that you're going to do. Okay? So let's talk about what are some sources for you. What are some places you can go to find market trends, property values, investment strategies? What are some tools and resources for ongoing education that you can utilize? Well, let me just tell you a list of the places that I go on a pretty regular basis. And these things, they're on the sheet here. They should be able to help you achieve the goals that you have for yourself, the SMART goals you have for yourself, and the research and education for this next year in your growth plan. The first one is your online research that you're going to do. Of course, you're going to use places like Zillow, Rentometer, Realtor.com, and Redfin. Those are all places that you can go to do some general research on data, looking at insights and market trends. You can find property listings and price trends. You can find rental rates, comprehensive reports, and market analysis, all on these websites. If you're in the industry, in the realtor industry, you might go get some industry reports, things like the National Association of Realtors. They put out a magazine or a publication every so often that you can dive into. Plus, the actual association offers you a number of benefits of market research. There's a CBRE research report that provides global research on real estate markets. There's also the JLL research report that offers insights and research on commercial real estate markets. So if you're interested in this stuff, you should do your research on this on a daily basis. These should be part of your habits. How about financial news websites? You can check out things like Bloomberg or the Wall Street Journal real estate section or Forbes real estate section for different articles on real estate if you're looking to get better at that. What about professional networks and forums? I'm sure many of you, if you're into real estate already, you know that you can go to Bigger Pockets. They have a community of real estate investors. They have online forums and blogs. You have the LinkedIn groups that you can join on real estate. There's Facebook groups that you can join. Just search Real Estate Investors Group in your local market on Facebook, and it will pull up these groups for you. It's same thing in LinkedIn. you can also join local real estate investors associations or programs. One of the things that I've had the benefit of doing is being a part of a program called Tours and Pours. If you follow me online or you've been a part of my Facebook journey, you will see that last night we attended Tours and Pours, and it's been life-changing to be a part of an organization in a group. See, when I first started off in my entrepreneurial endeavors, I was getting depressed. I had read books which gave me cerebral understanding, brain understanding, but it was just academic. I had went to conferences, and they are emotional places. They're places where you feel pumped up for a second at the end of this conference, but then you leave and it's hard to go out and execute on anything because you always feel like there's a piece missing. There's something that they didn't tell you. Well, this organization called Tours and Pours changed my life. Lee Fjord and Megan Fjord run this organization, and I can't tell you what an amazing couple they are in order to provide the mentorship, leadership, and guidance to the entire real estate investing community in St. Louis. What's different about their organization at Tours and Pours? Number one, it's free. Number two, I asked myself, why is Lee running this Tours and Pours group? He could be doing literally anything other than running a group, a free group for everybody. They'll typically around the last Thursday of every month, where you tour an apartment, which he has to set up, and then go to a restaurant and listen to that apartment owner or investor who aspired through the program, through his process, to be able to buy that many units and be that successful. And you go listen, and Lee interviews him at the restaurant, and he puts this on with technology and equipment. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, why is this guy doing this? And then he said something that was the profound thing that changed my life. Lee said that he was basically that the reason that he was doing all of these things was because at one point in his career, what took him from 0 to over 400 units, what put him in the place in order to do that was meeting people in groups just like the group that he cultivated, and it started to click for me. Lee wasn't putting that group on because he wanted something from us. Lee was putting that group on because he wanted something for us. He wanted to serve in a way that he had found value in his life, and he could pass that value and that intelligence and understanding on to other people. And he wanted to make the real estate investing experience, whether it's large syndications that you're interested in or buying your first duplex, he wanted to make it accessible and tangible to the common everyday person. And he did that through this group. And so I highly appreciate Lee and Megan for taking me on that journey and allowing me to do my research through Tours and Pours and to become even better invested in the real estate market. Now, that's a question for you. What professional groups are you a part of? What associations are you inspire you, change your life? Which ones have the impact on you? You're not going to get it by attending a conference here and reading a book there. You got to get involved in your industry. It makes a difference. Jason online says that he is loving this. I love setting goals and tasks to achieve them. It's helped me and progress in my life since I started doing it. Thank you so much for this episode. You're welcome, Jason. If you have any questions along the way, don't hesitate to ask them. So we're talking about right now research and education as being part of your growth plan. We talked about your professional networks with whether it's Tours and Pours or one of the organizations I'm also a part of here locally in St. Louis is the St. Charles County Real Estate Investors Association. They meet the first Wednesday of every month from 6 to 9 p.m. at the Walnut Grill in O'Fallon, and Michael Babcock runs that group. And so if you want to continue to talk about what's cool about that is that's a facilitated discussion with everybody. So it's not just focused on the investor. That's what Tours and Pours does. It focuses on the investor and then your local networking. This is networking, but then allows everybody to participate in a discussion around real estate investing so that you can share or debate or work through challenges or ideas. So I highly encourage the St. Charles County Real Estate Investors Association as well with Michael Babcock. And Michael Babcock, you are a genius for the way that you put that on. All right. You can check out if you do your research like I do for different things that you're looking in the real estate market. You can find government statistical agencies through the U.S. Census Bureau. You can go to the Federal Fair Housing Agency, Bureau of Economics. If you're looking at podcasts that you'd like to be a part of or listen to, I love a number of different podcasts. I could give you a list of probably close to 100 different podcasts that I pop into or listen to from time to time. But there's the Real Estate Guys show that covers a variety of different real estate topics. Obviously, there's bigger podcasts. And then you've got Graham Stevens' YouTube channel. For those of you, these are just generally popular YouTube channels and programs that you can check out, just like my YouTube channel. So if you subscribe to my YouTube channel, you can get ongoing education just like this on a regular basis. Books. There are some books that could change your life as a real estate investor. How about The Millionaire Real Estate Investor by Gary Keller? It gives you insights into successful real estate investing. I love his book on The One Thing. It's those daily habits, the one thing that you can change that makes all of the difference. And Gary Keller wrote the book, The One Thing. I highly recommend that book as well. 2 books by Gary Keller. How about Real Estate Market Analysis, Methods and Case Studies by Deborah Brett? I love this book as well. This gives you understandings of market analysis techniques if you're looking for something technical or tactical to get into this next year. How about online blogs like the CRE online blog or Investopedia real estate investing section? I use these for research on a regular basis. LoopNet and Property Fixer. These are all different areas that you can do research and find research and have education to help you on your growth plan. All right. So I hope that's helpful for somebody out there. I know some of you were asking me for information. Where do I get all this information? Where do I find this information? That's how I do it, is that I'm constantly researching and educating myself on a regular basis. All right, man. We're rocking on it to it now. We are on the opportunity identification section. So we're talking about growth, which is goal setting, research, opportunity identification, wealth management, tactical execution, and harvesting success. And we are on opportunity identification and evaluation. How do we identify opportunity? Well, I've got a couple of things on the slide in front of me. If you're watching online, if you're not watching online, the slide in front of me says how to spot lucrative investment opportunities. Then the next step of the frame says evaluating properties and projects, ROI, location, and market trends. And then if you're also listening, the last part of the frame says risk assessment and management strategies. Risk assessment and management strategies. Okay. So how do you identify a real estate or an opportunity for yourself that even needs to be evaluated? The first thing is you have to spot the investment opportunity. Nathan, what does that even mean? What is spotting an investment opportunity? How is that? Why is that even a part of identifying a process? Well, yeah, of course I know I need to spot one, but what do I actually need to do in order to spot one? That's a better question. How do you spot a real estate opportunity? How do you spot an opportunity in general? There's a couple of different ways to do it. Number one, through your research. You got to use your eyes and dig and uncover opportunities. Through your ears, listening and having conversations with people and asking them about opportunities that you're wanting to achieve. So you got to kind of know what you want. What is the habit and the goal and the outcome that you're looking for? And then you can do it through your touch or your feel by driving around and going to different groups and organizations. By keeping your eyes and ears open, it allows you to be able to get the input that you need in order to identify these different opportunities. Sometimes it doesn't wise to just go through your life and as you identify an opportunity, spot one down, write it down. How can this be an opportunity? How can I take this situation, this relationship, this tool, this investment, this property, this vehicle, this car? How can I turn whatever this is into an asset? Opportunity equals, how do you get opportunity? You look for assets. Assets produce income. According to Robert Kiyosaki in the cash flow quadrants in his book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, assets produce income. Opportunities are assets that you can acquire. at least in real estate investing. Maybe you got to figure out a way to apply this a little bit more to your life. But in real estate investing, assets equal opportunities. How do you acquire more assets? Where is the opportunity? What's going to produce me income from this? And then you need to evaluate it. You need to evaluate whatever that asset is that you're looking to acquire. Look, in the world of marketing, you can call this project that I just did, this live cast, this presentation that we have online, you can call this an asset. So I got to evaluate that asset. What was the return on it? Where did the asset go? What are the trends that are they in high traffic locations? Is it easily able identified online? Like the same identifying an opportunity that you spot and evaluating that opportunity is evaluating that asset for the income potential, where you can place that asset, where that asset sits, looking at the market trends of that asset and identifying whether that's going to be a beneficial investment. So you've identified by spotting the opportunity, you've evaluated the opportunity. Now you've got to do something called risk management. And I have got a tool or a frame here that I use for risk management. Let me see if I can find it on my computer real quick, and I'll pull it up on the screen. Here we go. This tool I have used my entire life. And I love this tool because this tool helps me to identify the last step in evaluating an opportunity, which is risk in management. What are the risks associated with this opportunity, and how do you manage it? And this is unique. I don't know that I've seen this in too many different places, but the way that I evaluate risk is probably pretty unique. I don't like risk. I don't. The more I can reduce risk, the better. The more I can mitigate risk, the better. I don't like to have to accept the risk. So what do? I look at whether this is the idea, whatever the risk is, whether it's internal or external. How about a competing building that was bought and rehabbed near our project? That could be a risk that's associated with that particular project. It's an external risk. It's not an internal risk to our organization. It's something external that could happen. What is the impact then? So I know that it's an external risk. I know that what the risk is. What is the impact to the organization? What do I need to do? How is it going to impact our company? So is it going to increase costs? Is it going to change the time? Will I have to change the scope of what I'm doing? What's going to happen? So the risk might be competitive building is bought and rehabbed near our project. Right now, there's nothing next to our project that's renovated. Somebody comes in and buys it and they're going to renovate the project. That might be a risk. So it changes the scope of what I'm doing. What is the likelihood that that's going to happen? On a scale of 1 to 5, what is the likelihood that that's going to happen? Then how about this? What is the degree of impact to my organization? 1, very low, 5, extremely high. And then we look at a weighted total. What is the likelihood times the impact? And now we have a weighted total that helps me to identify what are the greatest risks that I need to deal with right now on this specific asset. What is the trigger now? So now I've identified the likelihood and the impact. I know what to do about the impact. I know the degree of impact. What's the trigger that tells me that this risk has now started? What is the trigger that tells me that this risk has now started? The trigger that tells me that this risk has now started is that another building is purchased nearby. Well, whose responsibility then is it to deal with that? Once I know whose responsibility it is, I know what the trigger is, I know the degree, the likelihood, I know what the impact is, I know what the risk is, I know if it's internal or external. I need to develop a response plan. What's going to happen when the action's triggered? And who's going to take care of that response plan? And then the last thing that I want to do when this risk is associated with that project is decide whether I'm going to accept the risk. Are we going to try to mitigate the risk? Or are we going to try to avoid the risk altogether? And now I can make a determination on how to manage that situation. But I can't manage these things without the actual assessment of the risk. So many people in today's society and economy They put all of their stock in their effort in reactionary management. What is unique about me and my team and my group is that we constantly are proactive. Now, do we miss things? Yes. Do we make mistakes? We're far from perfect. But if you want to be successful, if you want to 10x your unit acquisitions, if you want to go from, a couple tens of units to a couple hundred units like we did in 1 year's time frame under management or under ownership or whatever growth that you're looking to achieve, you've got to evaluate the risks and you got to understand what your management strategy is going to be. That's how you get fast growth. That's how you grow yourself from small to large quickly. That's called managed growth, when you can assess the risks and identify them and be able to respectfully and professionally deal with those risks. Now, the W in growth stands for wealth management. It stands for wealth management. And you gotta manage your wealth and you gotta plan your finances in order to be able to grow. No, nothing grows without the ability to provide the resource that it needs to grow. And in real estate, that just happens to be cash and capital. And so what are you doing to manage your wealth? I've got a framework for how to manage your wealth. The first one is you got to identify your strategies for funding, how you're going to deal with leverage, and how you're going to deal with partnerships. What are you willing to do? What are you willing to take on? How are you going to deal with this conversation of leverage? The next thing that you've got to do, once you understand the leverage and you know whether you're going to take on debt or partnerships or how you're going to finance a project, you need to look at how you're going to diversify your real estate investment. Well, you say, well, Nathan, I can only buy one building. Yeah, but you still need to have diversification in your investments. If all you can afford to do is buy one building, you're not in a position to buy real estate. We've said it a number of times on this show, and I totally mean this. No money down is not a strategy, it's a prayer. No money down is not an opportunity to succeed in real estate. It is an opportunity for you to get another job. No money down is not the way to achieve financial freedom in real estate. It is a way for you to work and work and work and work and work and take on significant risk because you're not managing the equity. That is wealth management. Managing equity, dollars collected, money set aside, and growing that money financially, that's wealth management, not going to try to make something out of nothing. Slick 'em, trick 'em, rack 'em, fake tricks that happen online, all this garbage that you see with these people that are trying to tell you to do high-risk things that are going to cost you dearly financially. Remember, I showed you how we mitigate risk. I'm telling you from a person who manages risk that it's extremely risky to do anything that people try to teach you around this no money down concept. So you got to look at your diversification in your real estate investment. That's why I love organizations like Green Forest Capital, where if you don't want to do the work of syndication, you just want to diversify maybe part of your 401k or take an IRA or some extra cash that you have allowed and invest in a deal alongside of somebody like Lee Fjord. You can do that without the risk of having to get into real estate as a business full time. Or maybe part of your diversification of your wealth is looking to buy a small multifamily with an IRA. You're going to utilize that self-directed IRA in order to be able to buy a small multifamily, is peeling off part of your portfolio so that you can have some diversification in your investments. And maybe you have also some REITs online and some other things that are, specific to the investment markets, not the real estate market. Maybe you have some stuff like REITs online that you do through your E-Trade account or some mutual funds that are invested in real estate. But diversify your investments is a good strategy. Making sure that you understand what you're diversifying in is a better one, and that's done through the research and education phase of your growth plan. And then you need to make sure that what you're doing is focused on long-term wealth growing. Last night at part of Tours and Pours, one of the biggest challenges that the gentleman said was an issue that he had made over the panel. One of the gentlemen on the panel said that he had made over his career in real estate investing. One of the biggest issues or challenges or setbacks was he was planning for short-term gains versus long-term growth. And had he made decisions years ago, instead of trying to go for quick money, he would be wealthier today than he was by doing the quick deals that he could do back then. And so are you planning for long-term or is this short-term stuff? Guys, I am not a get-rich-quick show. I am not a get wealthy by fluctuations or by tricking or by getting wealthy by scoring some major deal that's going to set you over the top. I am a person who believes in long-term, conservative financial management and making sure that we follow the resources and the plans that we have to achieve financial goals over a long period of time. If I want a specific outcome, what is the habit today that I need to do? Remember, we talked about that when we're setting goals. And so we have goals that we set on the daily actions and habits that we're trying to achieve. You need to do the same. Plan for long-term growth. What if financial security was not about having more, but about understanding the true nature of money and its potential? It's interesting because when you realize financial rules you've been following are outdated, will you be open to creating new ones? And what if the most powerful financial strategy, guys, wasn't about numbers, but about shifting your mind around money? That's why this whole show exists, guys. It's why this show exists. We've got to change the mentality and the mindset around all of these principles and practices that are fake, that are quick hits, that are get rich quick, that are not accurate, solid financial principles, that are not solid business principles, that do not take you to the level that you would like to actually achieve in your life. It's all stuff for the internet that gives people fuel in false hopes and false dreams. It fixes this emotional, right now, instant gratification, immediate style society of the Facebook like and chasing the next share and the next YouTube subscriber. Look, I want all of those things to grow our organization. We have daily habits and practices that are leading us in the direction to be able to build the following that we're trying to achieve online. However, not at the guise of the values that we have as an organization and as a company. And so I don't believe in that kind of stuff. I'm not going to teach that kind of stuff. I'm going to share with you things that actually work, things that we've done along the way in our journey that helps us achieve our own outcomes that we look and desire. And with that said, I got to thank our next sponsor, Web Insurance. Let Web Insurance be your guide. They can review your current coverages that make sure you have the correct policies in place and the most affordable prices. And what their clients love about them at Web Insurance is that every year they proactively shop your insurance to ensure that you're truly with the most affordable carriers with the appropriate coverages. From contractors to real estate investors, let Web Insurance be your guide. Visit www.webinsurance.com to get a quote from them. Thank you, Web Insurance, for sponsoring the show. All right, so now the T and the growth model. Guys, you've been hanging in there almost 45 minutes now with me on the show, and I totally appreciate it. I know that these shows have been a little bit longer, but I just feel I've got a lot more to share with you. And so the 30-minute shows that I was doing, the quick hit shows that I was doing, weren't in line with some of my values because there was things that I wanted to make sure I got through on the show, and I'm taking the show all the way to the finish line today. We're going to finish out the growth model, and we're going to talk about all of these things. I feel it's that important for you. And I feel it's the only way to actually help you achieve the goals and things that you're trying to achieve in 2024. So we're going to talk about tactical execution, implementation of your investments. This is what we're talking about right now. So the first step in your tactical execution and implementation is this step around identifying investment opportunities. You've got to identify the opportunity that you want to go after. You got to know what is an opportunity and what's not an opportunity. Then you need to make sure that you have these things in place to tactically execute on what you're trying to achieve. You need to have the building. You need to have the managing team, whether that's your realtors, contractors, property managers. So in tactical execution, you go find an opportunity. And as part of finding that opportunity, you have to begin to build your team. You need a team behind you. You need resources. You need to have your network. So what do? You line out the investment opportunities, the different things that you'd like to go after this year. You work backwards on those habits and different stuff that we talked about already on the show. And then you also identify all the people that need to help you and support you. And you start filling them in with names and phone numbers and email addresses of all the people that will help you achieve the specific outcome that you're looking to work towards on those goals that you have for yourself. And then you have to look at the practical aspects of management or flipping, whatever it is that you're going to do. And you need to lay out a plan for yourself in 2024. If you're going to get tactical on this, you need to lay out a plan that says, these are the ways that we do X, Y, Z. Some people call them operating procedures. What are your operating procedures in order to help your organization or company hit those goals? You say, well, I'm only a solo entrepreneur. Why do I need to lay out my tactical operations? I know the people in my phone. Why do I got to write them out? I know what investment opportunities I'm going at. Good for you. Let me know how that works out for you. That's not the way I do it. The way I do it in order to get fast growth is I actually write this down. I sit down, I think about it, and I identify these things. Growth doesn't happen by accident. Growth happens with intentionality. And so what is your intentionality? How are you growing? With that said, part of our intentionality at Red Maples is utilizing our next sponsor at BBC Global Services. BBC Global Services is one of those companies that we're extremely grateful for because they are an outsourcing organization that helps real estate investors like you focus on superpowers. You can have your superpowers and focus on them and let BBC Global team members help you do the rest. And so they're simple. They're on your terms. There's no term limits. There's no minimums. If you need a VA to help you out with your administrative tasks, you can get a free consultation with no obligation. Just go to www.bbcglobalservices.com. All right. Thanks, BBC Global. Appreciate the sponsor. Now let's talk about the last step. Let's talk about the last step in your program here. We want to make sure that you're able to actually continue on and evaluate all of the things that you've done throughout this last year. And so you want to make sure that you're harvesting success. The G was for the goal. The R was for the research and education. The O was for the opportunity identification. The GROW, the wealth management was W. The T was, we just previously talked about here in tactical execution. And now we're talking about harvesting. We're talking about harvesting. And so what are you going to do in order to measure success and plan for the future? What are you going to do to measure your success and plan for the future? Remember, if we're setting these goals, we're doing the research, we're identifying the opportunity, we're managing our wealth fine, we have the proper tactical plans and executions. Now, as part of your growth plan, how are you measuring and planning for the future? We've got 3 steps in order to plan for your future. Those 3 steps, look, I learned these 3 steps the hard way. You can do the same thing over and over and over again, but if you expect a different result, that's the definition of what? Insanity. If you want to get different results, it comes from evaluating this experience. It's interesting. I had posted online and asked, what do you learn more from? Do you learn more from failure or do you learn more from success? I think one person said it best in the comments. They said both. I learn from failure and I learn from success. Why? Because that person evaluates their experiences. And so you have to assess the performance of your investments. How do you assess the performance of your investments? We have got a 3-2-1 measurement strategy that we utilize at Red Maples. We look at 3 finance ratios, we look at 2 management numbers, and we look at your net operating income. The 3 ratios that we look at are your profit margin, we look at your leverage, and we look at your interest coverage ratio. Those 3 investment ratios tell me whether you're healthy or not. Then what do we look at? Well, we look at your management numbers, which are your tenant retention, and we look at your cost per square foot in maintenance. Those 2 numbers tell us kind of how things are performing. We don't include renovations or turnovers in those numbers. We're talking about just occupied units. What is the cost per square foot of maintenance on your property? And then lastly, the number 1 number that we look at is for profitability. It's your net operating income. And we look at all that after management expenses, taxes, and insurance. That tells us how you're doing. That's how we assess performance on your portfolio. How do you assess performance? You got to determine that for yourself. Strategies for scaling and diversifying. So you've got to not only assess the performance, but then you've got to have strategies for scaling and diversifying. How are you going to scale? Is it going to be through the utilization of labor through organizations like BBC Global Services, that you have a research plan in place and now you can teach it to somebody else and they can do a lot of that research for you? Is it that you're going to put operational procedures in place and you need additional help and support in order to achieve those things? Is it that you're going to diversify your investments? You're going to buy in North County and you're going to buy in South City and then you're going to buy in Troy. You've got to make decisions on how you're going to invest and how you're going to diversify. Are you going to buy just small multifamily? Are you going to diversify from small multifamily into large multifamily? What is your plan? And then you got to plan the next steps on your investment journey. That's how you measure success. Then you plan the next steps. You do this growth plan every year, over and over and over again. And this will help you identify what you're trying to achieve in order to grow. So with that said, I hope it helped. I hope it helped you. I hope it helped you achieve the goals that you are looking to achieve, your growth that you're looking to achieve in 2024. And that, Renovation Nation, brings us to the end of another episode. I'm Nathan Bush. I'm your guide on this journey of real estate, business growth, leadership, and personal transformation. Remember, just like plants need the right air, soil, and care, our minds need the right environment to build a life of purpose, passion, and growth. Keep challenging your limits. Keep seeking knowledge, and most importantly, keep renovating those minds. Don't forget to get your citizenship to Mind Renovation Nation. Follow us, subscribe to my email list, and hit subscribe on the YouTube channel to stay updated with our latest episodes. And if you loved today's mind workout, guys, share it with a friend who's passionate about real estate business growth as you are, so they can join us every Friday at noon is when we do these shows. So join me next time for more insights, inspiration, and of course, a little bit of nation building spirit that drives us to create our community. United by shared values, purpose, and a commitment to leaving a lasting legacy. Until then, keep building, keep growing, and let's lead more than 25,000 souls, guys, to a life of values-based investing. In our journey of mind renovation, we often talk about personal growth, ethical leadership, and making impactful choices. Values-based investing is an extension of that philosophy. It's about being a steward of not only our finances, but also our values and vision for the future. So I'm signing off here from St. Louis. Stay blessed, stay inspired, and remember, every day is a chance to renovate your nation. Talk to you later. See you guys. Bye.